Are you curious about how Capstone Leadership Solutions can help your small healthcare organization to improve and grow with more speed and ease? If so, reach out to us at capstoneleadership.net. There's a contact us page, or you can email us at info@capstoneleadership.net. We're here to help. This is a strategic investment, not a quick fix. Although a lot can happen in a short amount of time, where that initial shift from downward trend to upward trend is happening. And gosh, I love when that's happening and I can see it in the data and you can feel it in the entire organization. But it's truly the long game and it's really the infinite game, right? The forever game. We're never done as an organization, as a business, focusing on being in the black in our finances and being in the black in our culture.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzlaff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here with me today on this Culture Byte episode, a shorter solo episode. And today I wanted to explore the idea of what it means to be in the red culturally in a healthcare organization. So in business, any business really, being in the red means that your business is losing money, right? Your finances are in trouble. But what would the equivalent of that be culturally? So being in the red culturally. So when it comes to being in the red in our finances, we know that that means that our expenses are exceeding our revenues. We can actually look at numbers and reports that tell us we're in the red or we're in the black. And when organizations are in the red, in particularly in big ways, right? So not just a little bit in the red, but there's variation in this, right? There's extremes in this. There's, just barely in the red, meaning that the loss is small, the financial loss is small. And then there's extremes of that too, right? Where the losses are huge. And then when you think about an organization month after month, quarter after quarter, even year after year, so years in a row being in the red, you can imagine that this kind of shaky financial performance could even take an organization down or a business down. And so when organizations are in the red, they want to act, right? They want to take action to turn it around. They must take action to turn it around. So again, what is the equivalent of this when we talk about our people pillar, of being in the red in our people pillar? So when it comes to qualitative indicators, similarly to looking at financial metrics, if we look at qualitative indicators in the area of the people pillar or our cultures in our organization, common ones that we focus on are turnover rates, vacancy rates, time to fill open positions, the applicant pool that we have, and a big one is employee engagement scores. And so we can compare ourselves over time, how we're doing, just like our financial performance. We can say month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, is it below what we want to see, right? Is it below industry average? We can compare ourselves to others. We can compare ourselves over time. And these are common indicators where if we wanted to think about it, we could say, are we in the red or are we in the black when it comes to our people pillar? I think that maybe if we had to just pick one, just like profit or loss is one. There's lots of financial data we look at. When we say we're in the red, we're looking at one piece of data. Could we land on just one, like maybe employee engagement scores? If you look to an organization like Gallup, who does lots of research and study around disengagement or engagement in workplaces, they estimate that active disengagement costs the U.S. economy over $1.9 trillion per year. And of course, healthcare organizations only make up a portion of the U.S. economy, but certainly there's a portion of that number, $1.9 trillion per year, that active disengagement is costing healthcare organizations. And again, beyond the actual dollars that it's costing organizations, you can imagine that within a single organization, disengaged employees are more likely to miss work, make errors, deliver poor service and quality, and even leave prematurely, driving up those turnover rates and those vacancy rates. What if we actually had on our income statements, right, the actual dollar amount or a line item that was labeled cost of disengagement? Many organizations likely would be stunned by what it's draining from their organization. So when it comes to financially being in the red, it's usually related to the actual numbers or the actual dollars. But I think when it comes to culture, there's also a sense or a feeling, qualitative indicator of what it feels like when an organization is culturally in the red or the black, right? So if culturally we're in the red, it might feel like there's a fog of negativity or disconnection. Leaders are stuck in putting out fires instead of fostering long-term growth and improvement. So innovation is stalling. Complaints are probably increasing. Gratitude is decreasing. People are fearing to speak up. Silos are hardening. Us versus them or we versus they creeps in, or recognition might seem rare or forced or be insincere and ineffective. Frontline teams and employees feel unseen, unappreciated. Leaders feel unsupported, likely working long and hard and not feeling like it's making a difference. I've been a leader in an organization where, if I had to just sum it up, I would say we were in the red, both financially and culturally. And I have come to believe now, years later, decades later, that they're really connected. And just like we can measure being in the red financially, we can measure being in the red culturally. And just like we can feel being in the red culturally, we can also feel being in the red financially too. It does not feel good as an employee or a leader to be working for an organization that is in the red financially either. It's scary because shaky financial pillar can eventually take an organization down or lead to major changes in that organization, such as cutting service lines, downsizing, etc. So just like we don't want to be in the red with our finances, we don't want to be in the red with our culture. We want all our pillars to be strong, right? People, service, and quality, and finance and growth. We want a thriving organization that is in the black in all of our pillars. And being employees and leaders in any healthcare organizations is complicated, right? These are not easy businesses to run and to keep in the black in all the pillars. And just like when I was part of an organization that was in the red in our finances and also our culture, but in our finances, we needed to mastermind a financial turnaround. And there was a huge sense of urgency and a huge sense of importance in doing that. And I would love that same level of urgency and importance to be emphasized when organizations see themselves in the red, in their people pillar, in their culture. So just like financial turnarounds, cultural recoveries don't just happen, right? They are created, and they're created in similar ways. So a financial turnaround and a cultural turnaround can be created in similar ways. So first, you're going to need a clear diagnosis. So what is the data? What is the information? So use your cultural data like turnover, engagement as your profit and loss as your P&L, right? And study it and understand it and know where your opportunities and your challenges lie. So having that data, having that clear diagnosis from the data, and also the subjective findings, such as feedback, is so important to understanding what the turnaround is going to require. You've heard me say this before, if you're a listener of the podcast, that data informs us of two things. One, it helps us to be informed as to what to work on. And then two, to know if what we're working on is working. So when we get into the phase of improvement, we can study, adjust our action plans for that improvement. So it does take clear diagnosis and data to help us focus our efforts and to monitor and adjust our efforts for this turnaround. It also takes strong leadership. And I've seen it time and time again that it's just not strong leadership at the very top in senior leadership. It is also strong leadership across the entire organization, all levels of leadership being strengthened and synergized and aligned and united. This truly is cultural cash flow. Strong leadership, leadership to set and achieve goals, leadership to elevate behavior and performance of staff, engagement of staff. It takes strong leadership. And in the work that we do at Capstone, we have a framework, we have a formula, and we have 4 systems. And these 4 systems really prove to be the systematic action that creates the structures, the rhythms, the processes that create these new ways of doing things that get better and better results. Because remember, culture this is how we do things around here. So it's no surprise that systematic action, having these systems, having these structures, having this cadence or these rhythms of actions is going to be the activities, going to provide the momentum for that upward motion. And then there has to be that long-term perspective and commitment, right? This is a strategic investment, not a quick fix. Although a lot can happen in a short amount of time, where that initial shift from downward trend to upward trend is happening. And gosh, I love when that's happening and I can see it in the data and you can feel it in the entire organization. But it's truly the long game and it's really the infinite game, right? The forever game. We're never done as an organization, as a business, focusing on being in the black in our finances and being in the black in our culture. It's smart business. And this is a long-term endeavor, right? It's an infinite strategy for a business is to always be striving to be in the black in their finances and be in the black in their culture and to truly recognize the connection between the two and the synergy between the two. So as we close up here today, what do you think about this idea of our people pillars being in the red or in the black? And truly thinking about it in similar ways as we do with revenues exceeding expenses or expenses exceeding revenues. So when energy, engagement, and discretionary effort your people give exceeds what your culture drains, you're in the black, right? But when the drain is greater than the drive, you're in the red. So if you had to show a cultural income statement where you work, right? If your business, if your healthcare organization had to show a cultural income statement, would you be in the black or would you be in the red? And if you're in the red, is there that same sense of urgency and an importance to mastermind and execute that turnaround, right? That cultural recovery with a clear diagnosis, strong leadership for the change, systems that can create the momentum and the structure for the change, and that long-term perspective and commitment that this is a core business strategy to be in the black in both our people and our financial pillars. What a strong, healthy business. One that would be a magnet for talent and one that would be a magnet for patience. So food for thought, something to ponder. Are you in the red or are you in the black? And if you're in the red and you're needing help, it is free to jump on a call with me for a complimentary consultation. As a co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions, our team has been spending more than a decade to get healthcare organizations back in the black. We'd love to explore helping you too. You can go to our website, capstoneleadership.net, and there is a contact us page. You can either book a day and time for us to chat, or you can send us a note and we'll get back with you.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.